Hold up, stop everything. How the heck is an 8-year-old Switch still beating a console like the Series S/X? What is going on here? Someone explain it to me. I don't know what's going on here. Bobby, why? Why is the Switch doing so much better? 1.7 million. Who doesn't own a Switch at this point? Who, Bobby?
Everybody, but everybody wants like 2 or 3 because like I had 3, I had to give one away.
Why? Why would you need that? I have one.
Because
one.
Unlike Xbox, there are exclusive games.
Yeah, I guess. And if your Switch has died at all, or stick drift or anything on the Joy-Cons, then yeah, I guess I get that. Plus, I know that the OLED in terms of handheld mode is actually really good. And actually, the more I think about it, I guess technically I have 2 Switches at my house because my wife has one and I have one. So
boom, nailed it.
Yeah. Plus, just Japan in general, it makes sense, I guess. All right, guys, so we got to talk about this because this is absolutely crazy, especially with the holidays just ending now. New estimates have come out through marketing and everything that apparently the dying PlayStation console that everyone talks about is somehow beating Xbox 5-1 in sales, at least for November. So keep that in mind. That is before December, aka Christmas, aka when people sometimes at least get money. I know over here in Japan, we have what's called Otoshidama, or New Year's money, that a lot of kids get, and they'll go out and buy things with said money. You can rake up a lot of good cash depending on how old you are. So it's not, I know economic times are still hard for most people, myself included, but the fact that they're beating Xbox 5-1 really just makes you scratch your head and think, how does Xbox, or sorry, not even Xbox, how does Microsoft not look at this and say, all right, can the hardware stuff, stop losing money on that. We make our money through software, and we're going to put our software everywhere, which we already know they're doing, hence their whole everything is an Xbox campaign. Why not just do that? That's my biggest question personally here. Why in the world would you want to make more hardware that is not going to sell well? And we've already talked about this on the channel because I know everyone's going to bring up the handhelds. And I have said this from the beginning for both PlayStation and Xbox. I don't think their handhelds really do that well. I just don't. I think with PlayStation, at least with the Portal, I think they made a Portal 2, give it a little bit more power. They have that cloud gaming going on, which surprisingly is better than Xbox. Do that. Just focus on that and don't try to, make only games for that handheld or something like that. Xbox handheld, I really don't think that would go anywhere. That's just my personal opinion. I could be completely wrong. But when you have things like Switch 2 coming out, which by the way is supposed to be announced here in the next couple of months at the time of this recording, and released probably most likely in 2025, then you have the Steam Deck, you have the ROG Ally, and you even have like MSI's version of that and everything. Like, they're late to the party. They are super late to the party. And I think if PlayStation focuses more on what their Portal does, then that's going to be good for them. But Xbox just simply come out and saying, hey, you can play Xbox games on a portable system. It's like, can I play it on my Steam Deck? Yes, you can. Why would I buy this then? Somebody tell me, Bobby, let me know what's going on. Why in the world would you even go with Xbox hardware at this point? I have to know.
Yeah, for a handheld, they're gonna learn really quickly. They're gonna get absolutely destroyed. There's no reason for me to pick up a handheld. I have a Steam Deck. If I was gonna pick up a more powerful one, I would pick up like the ROG Ally X and put Bazite on it, so SteamOS. Or the rumor is that SteamOS is coming to like the new Lenovo or something at CES, which is like a day or 2 away.
It's like in a day or 2, so we'll know it's pretty sure. We'll pin the comment down below.
So, and the rumor is too that you'll be able to have the Xbox one. So I guess if you really like Game Pass, you can do that. But like for me, I don't ever see a reason to like have a Game Pass machine over like my 400 Steam library, and then I just get games all the time on it anyway.
I mean, Steam sales, the winter sale just ended. We got the summer sale coming up in the middle, halfway through 2025. They have random sales that just go on all the time. You just wish list everything, get announced, and then it sends you an email when your thing is on sale. So I want to preface this right now. We do not want Xbox to fail because without the competition, we get current day Sony right now, where they can literally do whatever they want because they don't have any competition. Competition is great for us, the consumer. And Xbox has a ton of great IPs Whether it be their first party stuff, the stuff they acquired from Activision, they have all this stuff. But every single time I see people going online saying, oh yeah, they got this, they got the Crash Bandicoot stuff, they're going to finally put all this stuff on, Xbox Game Pass that they got from Activision. I'm sitting here going, Microsoft's going to have something to say about that because they want what's going to make them the most money. And so they are not going to pour resources in to make a new Banjo-Kazooie, to make a new Spyro, as cool as it would be. We even talked about this in our the PlayStation video we talked about when it came to them wanting to do old IPs and everything. Unless it's going to make them money, or they have a very small budget and a small AA team or something like that, they are not going to do anything with that. And I find it very hard that Microsoft is going to okay these projects. I know Phil Spencer's come out and said, I would love to have a handheld and everything. I'd love to do this with the hardware and do this, and this. But guess what? He ain't the top brass. He's got a boss above him, and it is clear who is running this show right now. And I don't think that they're going to eat... It's going to go one of two ways, in my personal opinion. They're going to okay the handheld, and they're going to find out super fast that it is not going to go the way they think it is. Or, top head of Microsoft, yeah, he's going to be like, no, you're not making any more hardware stuff. We're going fully software. It's going everywhere. Done deal. I think that's the way it's going to go. Unless, Bobby, do you think I'm totally off? Do you think that's going to happen? Or what are your thoughts? What do you think is going to happen?
Honestly, with I don't know, it's hard to look at the Xbox hardware and not think that Satya is just going to go, no, we're done with this. This is ludicrous. Because, look at the numbers right now. We see that the estimates came in 4.1 million for PlayStation this holiday season over November.
That's only PlayStation 5, right? By the way. That's not PlayStation 4.
Yeah, that's not PS4. PS5, and that's largely been boosted by the Pro coming out, which has done better than I think a lot of people thought it would. Now, obviously, it's a Pro console, and it's not for everybody to buy, but that clearly helped push them in a positive direction because, I wouldn't have bought a PS5 this year, but I bought a PS5 Pro.
And I think also Astrobot winning Game of the Year probably got a lot of people to go out and get a PS5 to try it out because they're like, whoa, hold up, this little platformer one? All right, I got to try this out now. So
yeah, that one, and then Rebirth was a nominee, and then Helldivers won multiplayer Game of the Year, right? So PlayStation has a lot going on in terms of its thing. By the way, with again, people going PlayStation's in dire trouble. No, they're not. They're still making a ton of money on Helldivers.
Yeah. Their profits might not be at the 20% or whatever that they want. Hence why we see things like the backplates being sold separately for everything, while the stand is sold separately, the disc drive, right, all that stuff. That's to make up their profits because they've had flops like Concord and everything else. But they're still overall, I would say, doing well. Clearly the sales are showing that for one thing or another. Not to mention they make most of their money from their subscriptions, their online purchases of things like Call of Duty, Fortnite, and the games that we hear the real gamers hate and everything. So that's just the way it is. But when it compared to how the Xbox is doing right now, right? So it's sitting at apparently 767,000. And it's honestly a little sad to see because Xbox used to actually be really good in terms of the software side of things, in terms of the online, what it brought to the competition with online. Xbox forced Nintendo and PlayStation to really up their game in the online area when it came to inviting friends, lobbies, that whole yard. But now, what does Xbox have that you can't either A, get somewhere else, or is it even that good anymore? Because apparently they've taken away some features that they used to have on the Xbox One and 360, but they don't currently have right now that a lot of people want. I'm not exactly sure. I just heard randomly from people in comments and everything in terms of social media, which I know is not the best place to get your resources, but if that's true, then maybe it is. I don't know.
Yeah, in terms of I don't know, console sales, right? Seeing Xbox during a holiday season get 750,000 sales,
that's not good.
That's just crushing. I can't see how you can. If you're a lot of the fans go console sales don't even matter, dude, and it's okay, well, it's a hardware platform. That's what you're rooting for, is a hardware platform, and that's what we're all rooting for. But it's not, because it's clearly failing when an 8-year-old super underpowered graphing calculator with a screen on it outsells it almost 3-1.
Yeah.
Like, that's nuts.
And I know, and I've seen this point for many of years now, which was true, I think, in the beginning, but at least from 2020 on, the concept of you sell your console because you know it's going to be at a loss, but you make it up via your subscriptions and online purchases and everything like that. Correct me if I'm wrong, there have been interviews now with higher ups and people within these, Sony and PlayStation and Nintendo and everything, where they're not selling these at a loss anymore. There's a reason we see the price increases, the stand, the disk drive, all that stuff being separate, because they actually want to make money on this stuff now and not sell it at a loss. If they were still okay selling it at a loss, then PS5 Pro would have been $500, everything included, and the PS5 would have dropped down to what, 300 or something like that. That's what it would have been. But it's clear now, especially in this current economy, after the pandemic and everything, that they want to make profits off of the hardware because they don't have, whether that could be due to their percent margin not being at the 20% or whatever that they require, because I think it's only at like 6%, maybe 10% now. I'm not really sure on that. But if that is the case, then yeah, they're going to want to start making profits off of this. And this is also, again, we've mentioned this beforehand in multiple videos on stream and shorts and everything. Do not expect the Switch 2, the whatever PlayStation 6, whenever that eventually comes out, and whatever Xbox does next, if they do another console. Do not expect them to be the same price that they are now. Switch 2, I've already called it, $500. I think PlayStation 6 is most likely going to be $700, maybe even $800. Xbox, probably around there. Because as of right now, I'm pretty sure the Xbox Series X, at least, because they have that new 2 terabyte version. Isn't that $600 right now, I think?
Yeah, and that's one of those things that, like, I feel like is, I don't know, man. That's a huge mistake that, like, PlayStation comes out and they're going, we're giving you a Pro Series that, like, upscales all your old games to 4K. Now, Xbox already did that, right, to be fair. But, like, that has a 2 terabyte drive that runs all the new, like, PlayStation games at quality mode at 60 FPS, so they look incredible. Every single game I've played in the new Pro modes looks insanely good, right? And Series X goes, we're going to charge you an extra $100 for an extra terabyte, and that's
which you could
it.
Replace yourself for probably cheaper.
If they hadn't made that proprietary shit that they made,
right? And I know the Pro has had some games that don't work out the greatest in terms of some of the quality stuff, but that seems more on just the updates on that particular game, not necessarily on the hardware itself. Plus, let's be realistic here. The PS5 Pro is also, it's kind of like I'm using air quotes here, tech, like not demo, but like a tech beta for whatever the PS6 is going to become with their upscaling tech that they're making right now, their custom upscaling tech, right? Because as of right now, keep in mind it could change and everything. It is worse than DLSS, but it's better than AMD's upscaling, FSR, right? A lot. And if they can take everything from the PlayStation 5 Pro and then make, obviously improve their upscaling tech and everything for whatever the PlayStation 6 is going to be, because you have to keep in mind the PlayStation 5 Pro has an upgraded GPU, but its CPU is basically the same, but I believe they have more E-cores or something like that. The PS6 is going to increase all that stuff, right? It's going to have a better GPU. It's going to have a much better CPU, at least whatever price range they're going to make, because we already know that they're sticking with AMD, right? So if that is going to be the case, then the PS6 is going to take advantage of whatever the PS5 Pro did, and it's obviously going to make it better and everything. So I imagine that their upscaling tech, as I know people love to moan and complain about and everything, but it's where we are currently right now. Would I love it where, things like upscaling was not needed for making sure that the game runs properly and everything? Yes, I would. But it is clear that skill from those developers, they're all gone now. People who knew how to optimize games and everything, they're gone. They're not in this industry anymore. It's clear, right? That's what, we've talked about it even with something like Black Myth Wukong and everything, where it's clear they don't have the skills to truly optimize it to the best of their ability, or it takes them a longer time to do that. Hence why they release it on PC, because they know with PC at least you can just brute force that crap with higher and higher specs and everything. PlayStation clearly helped them monetarily and was like, hey, we want to release this at the same time. Here's some extra money to help out. And then Xbox didn't do anything. And then it was the Series S, basically, that, you know. And to keep in mind, X and PS5, Black Myth Wukong, does not run that well. It does not. So
even the Pro patch I've heard is not super great.
Right. So. And so if it's not running good there, it ain't running on the S. Just saying that. So Xbox isn't offering anything right now. I just don't. And when you see Xbox-focused content creators like Mr. Matty Plays and everything, even he calls them out on half this stuff all the time. He's just like, guys, what are you doing?
Yeah, that's why I actually have a ton of respect for Matty, because he does a lot of the content creators for Xbox who really like their inside access and stuff and like being invited to the shows to see Indiana Jones early. They go, Xbox is making big changes, but I think everything's going to be okay. We're still going to see a new Xbox. It's like, dude, if I'm Satya Nadella, I'm going, what the fuck are you doing? Where is my motherfucking money, Phil?
Yep.
Like,
$70 billion? Like, I want a return on that investment. Like, yesterday.
Yeah, like, and that's the thing that people don't understand. Like, it's business. And all those people who were cheering on the Activision acquisition, remember how many times, Tallen, did we say that's going to be fucking horrible?
It's going to come back to bite them in the butt. And
we said it for 2 years, and people were like, no, you're ponies, you're simping.
I wouldn't want Sony to buy them either. I
didn't want Sony to buy Kanakawa. I was like, that shit sucks.
Which
I'd
they
rather
didn't.
have Sony buy it than Microsoft.
They have a majority in it now, but they
take
straight
like
up
10% share,
Yeah.
right? That's So
none of those games are going exclusive to them or anything like that, but they are most likely holding off Tencent and everything. Essentially, is what they're doing.
Yeah, and so we don't have an acquisition by a shitty company. Awesome. I'm very happy to hear that. And even Sony doesn't own them. Because look what happened with Sony and Bungie. Sony bought Bungie. And
that had to be probably one of the worst purchases I think I've ever seen.
That was one of the worst purchases I've ever seen. They got fleeced. They literally were sold snake oil by Bungie. And like, if I was them,
threw money into the fire is what they did.
I would do everything possible to find the executives and stuff that lied about that shit and go, you're the fuck out and you're not getting shit.
And let's also keep in mind right here, we don't know any of the release dates for Elder Scrolls 6, but you know what's most likely going to be compared 100% is going to be The Witcher 4. And if they have learned from Cyberpunk and The Witcher 4 works out the way that most people hope it does, do you know how, I mean, heck, Witcher 3 is still compared to all Bethesda's games and how Bethesda's games look like they're from over 2 decades ago, right? Whether it's the mechanics, whether it's the way that the graphics look or anything like that. Witcher 4 and Elder Scrolls 6 are going to be compared. And when you put them side by side, if Elder Scrolls 6 looks like Starfield, which most likely it will in terms of like the graphics and everything, but obviously it's going to be obviously not space themed and all that stuff. And then you compare it to how the Witcher 4 is going to look with all of their stuff that they're getting help with from Epic and all that. I can tell you right now which one's probably going to do better. Just saying right now. Like, they're going to get compared. Hate it all you want. Say no, it shouldn't. Doesn't matter. It's going to.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you're going to have inconsistent console quality, and then you're going to have people go like, why the fuck would I buy this? Then the word of mouth gets worse than it is now. Word of mouth around Xbox is really, really bad right now. I mean, like 2 years ago, I was at Disneyland getting lunch. And 2 years ago, I heard some guys talking about how, and it was around this time, how Starfield was coming out later that year. Guy was like, oh, what's that? He's like, oh, it's on Xbox. It's like, you know, like the guys who made Skyrim, they're making a space game. And the other guy was like, oh, so it's only on Xbox? And he's like, yeah, dude. And he's like, yeah, I'm not going to buy an Xbox for that. Like, he just straight up said, he's like, yeah, that sounds cool, but I'm not going to buy an Xbox just for that. That's how bad it was. That was 2 years ago, before all this, like, hey, we're moving 4 games over in a wacky little experiment. By the way, we're putting everything on PlayStation. Like, you know, they're like, what's the point? People are seeing what is the point of buying an Xbox? And then when you go, okay, Microsoft isn't making them anymore, so now we have no real like center quality control, like minimum thing that we have to do. You know, like then people are gonna go, okay, so like I thought Microsoft made my Xbox. Why should I buy that? Like why don't I just buy a PlayStation then? Because like your games are gonna be there anyway, and I know who's making it, and they make a good product. Versus like Lenovo, you know.
I mean, Starfield clearly didn't do, I think, what they wanted to. I know Bethesda has come out and been like, oh, we have the most players on, you know, across everywhere because of Game Pass and everything. And it's just like 3,000 players on Starfield. Like, I'm pretty sure other Bethesda games have higher numbers right now. Like, if we typed in Fallout, let's look at Fallout New Vegas right now. That's at the same, pretty much the same numbers as Starfield.
Speaking of which, I looked up the Suicide Squad numbers the other day. Much better than I thought they'd be.
Still a low bar, but still.